And we are back. My next guest is a difficult man to introduce. His resume is so rich, so lengthy, so plenty. I will do my very best to launch him out as brief as I can. The proprietor of a free public library in Lagos, which has played host to over 400 authors since its establishment. He's a historical and educative tourist who has visited 33 out of the 36 states and documented over 610 tourist sites. Dr. Raphael James is founder of the richest private museum of Nigerian history with over 48,000 photos and artifacts, a historian journalist, United Nations ambassador, and fellow Tourism Management Institute of Nigeria, winner, Global Justice World Nobel Prize, Peace Prize Award in 2020, and a lot more. For the work that he does, preserving history and cultures plus philanthropy, my guest has received a total of 289 awards and still counting, and donated 70,000 books across Nigeria. He's here, the founder and Director General, CREMID, Center for Research, Information and Media Development. Dr. Raphael James, it is such an honor that you could join me in the studio today. You are all about history. And so let's add this to your historical adventure today, shall we?
Thank you so very much, my darling sister. It's nice to see you again after a long
time.
Yeah.
So we're looking at legacy for tomorrow, you know, and preserving Nigerians' reach. I like that reach that you added, you know. I was specific. I said, give me a topic. Let us talk about it. So thank you once again for coming. Now,
you're welcome.
Why is it critical for Nigeria to preserve its history? And what are the risks of losing historical knowledge?
Okay, let me start by answering this way. I studied psychology in the university, so probably I should be the wrong person to be doing history. But along the line, I remember my kids asking me questions when they were younger. And I realized I couldn't really answer their question because it had to do with Nigerian history. And I started asking myself the question that if I can answer them, and they're going to have their own kids tomorrow, that means they won't be able to also answer the same question to their kids. And that was when it struck me that something have to be done. And when I say something have to be done, is that I actually went back and started looking at some of the history that I was taught and started asking myself questions. I'm going to give you an example. When I was in school, primary school, secondary school, we were taught about Mungo Park.
Okay.
How Mungo Park discovered the River Niger. And most of us grew up with that concept that Mungo Park discovered the River Niger. But along the line, when I started my studies, I discovered that there is something wrong somewhere. Mungo Park never claimed that he discovered the River Niger. In fact, I had the opportunity of reading his voyage, his autobiography that he wrote. And in it, he said, I set forth to discover the source of the River Niger. And interestingly, he did not even discover the source. The source was later discovered by the Lander brothers, Richard Lander and John Lander. But yet, because most of our teachers then did not really understand this concept of history, they did not understand the word source. They told us Mungo Park discovered River Niger, and we all grew up with that. I've been trying to make that correction now on social media. I even discovered that even the younger ones we have now, when they want to even look at it, they keep emphasizing that people are already going to the river to go and fetch water. It's not about the river. It's about the source of the river. Where was the water coming from? There's this particular example I always give people. If you're living upstairs and you're out of your house and suddenly your neighbor downstairs called you and said, sorry, your auntie, water is flowing from your flat downstairs. The first thing you're going to do when you get home is to find out where is the water coming from. And that was all Mungo Park wanted to do. But again, like I said, they gave us wrong history. We grew up with that wrong history. And these are the things that my center started working on, saying, okay, how do we correct this wrong history that has been given to us? And how do we preserve other histories that we have? Now, interestingly, I am from Abia State. My wife is from Ogun State. Now, I'm trying to look at history now. When we met in Lagos. We fell in love. We got married. And some 7 years ago, I was doing a research work in Enugu, and I got the greatest shock of my life. I discovered that my grandfather-in-law and my own grandfather were friends in the 40s.
No way.
And they were living on the same street in Enugu. And because we didn't have these things documented anywhere, we didn't know.
Wow.
You see, that's the amazing thing about history. Until you start going back, that is when you discover things that you're supposed to know. And today, there are a lot of parents, those who are even watching as we're talking now, that don't even know the history of their own father, their mother, not to talk of their grandparents. And if we don't keep these histories, if we don't document them, we're going to get to a point in time in our life that we don't even know who we are again. And that is what my center is trying to do. And that is part of the reason why I've been traveling. I've been going around the country to document historical sites, get the stories. Interestingly, I don't even take story from one place. I go to here, I hear it from this one, then I compare the stories to find out what I think should be the facts to these stories.
Wow, it must be an exciting, a challenging, a difficult assignment, because especially convincing people, to dig deeper like you have done over the years.
Yeah.
Share with us, how has the journey been? How has this center evolved over the years? And how has it impacted Nigerians, especially the younger ones?
Okay, I would say quite interesting. I'm going to share yet another story. At a point in time, I remember when I was in secondary school, we used to have an Agric teacher that every time he comes to the class to teach Agric, he was telling us about women riot.
About women riot?
Yes, for an Agric teacher. And it wasn't interesting to us. But again, some years back, I think about 10, 11 years ago, I saw on social media where young people were talking about the About Women riot, and they were saying it started in a Korobas in Akwa Ibom. And it ended there. And it gingered my interest. So I started remembering, what was it that my teacher was telling me in class then?
In an Agric class?
Yes, in Agric class. Now, interestingly, my Agric teacher, he used to be Mr. Anyanwu. I understand he's now a Reverend Anyanwu. His father was Chief Okugo, and he was the one who actually took part in that riot. He was the one that the maker, the court clerk, was working with. So that is why the man was telling that story. And I now remembered, Chief Okugo was in a village called Oloko in Ekwano, which is in Abia State. So how come the people in the Korobasi are now saying that the riot started in the Korobasi? So I went deep into this research. And this research took me to 6 different states. All the states that the riot took place in. I tried to interview people. Of course, it's only one person that I met that was still alive, that claimed that he was alive as of 1929, during that period. But he was an elderly man in his 90s. I spoke to him. He told me his own version. I went to the family house where was family house. That is the woman who actually started the whole riot. And I met his grandchildren. And interestingly, her own grandchildren can't even remember so much about their mom. Because they're not talking about this history. And that was why I was able to now trace it that, good, the riot started in Oloko in Abia, but ended in a Korobasi in Akwa Ibom. And that is because the 2 villages were almost like together then. And the district officer who was in Oloko was also supervising a Korobasi. Okay. So because we missed that part of history, we keep believing that the thing started in the Korobasi. Now, if we don't document these histories and we don't know them, it's going to become a big challenge as we keep growing up. And for me, what I'm doing now, I might not really be acknowledged, and it's not by the government. I'm not even interested if government acknowledges me or not. But the point is that I'm helping young people to understand our history. The Nigerian independence happened at the Tafawa Balewa Square. And for a long period of time, there was this pillar that was mounted during independence, the way the flag was hosted. I think the pillar probably collapsed. And I started asking, I visited Kenya, and I went to the Independence Square in Kenya, and I saw the tree that Jomo Kenyatta planted on the day of independence to remember the exact spot where the independence happened. Where it happened in our own country here in Lagos, Nigeria, there was no sign of it. The only thing they keep telling us was TBS. And I raised alarm. I went to TBS several times trying to find out where did it happen. I couldn't get it. And interestingly, I just came up with this concept. There's this, opposite to TBS, there's this, where they have this, they sell these law documents and all that. Okay. I met this particular elderly man there, and the cost of this call, he said, I know the place now. I was a young boy. We were in primary school. We all carried flag. They gave us a Union Jack. And I just crossed through my house and I went to the spot. So I pleaded with him. We went through the main gate of TBS, and he told me, said it was somewhere around here. And what did I do? I took photographs of the place. I sent it to the Goodluck Jonathan's government then, and I said, Your Excellency, if there's a way they can do something here so that young people, a monument, so that people can remember it. Interestingly, my letter wasn't acknowledged. But then, the government of Goodluck Jonathan set up a committee, and they've gone back to replace that monument there. For me, this is what I want to achieve. You don't have to give me the credit. But let us document this thing so that younger people will get to appreciate what we have done in this country and know our history.
Awesome. Well, for the kind of job you do, you will face a lot of challenges.
Yes.
Share a few of them, the challenges you face in documenting and preserving our history, and how have you overcome them? Okay,
now on this, like this one I just talked about, the elderly man I said I interviewed, that was Werenta. Werenta is in Abia State. I've done about 20 minutes into the interview when his son came in. And when the son came in, he asked the father, how much did I pay him for the interview? And the father said, he didn't pay me, he only gave me a bottle of gin. And the guy said he was going to seize my phone, my tablet I was to record. I pleaded with him. He said, no, government have given you millions. And you're coming here to talk to my father. You don't want to pay us. At least, no, give us like 200 or 250,000.
Which means he has no idea what the value.
So I tried to explain to him. I said, I am the one doing this thing on my own. I'm spending my money. He said, no way. And when he insisted, I gave him my tablet. He clicked delete. And he deleted the interview. And I told him, I said, let me tell you something. You have deleted this interview. But I was the one interviewing your dad, so I will remember everything your father said. So the only difference is that I'm not going to give credit to your father when I'm discussing this history, because you've removed it. He said he doesn't mind. And he asked the father not to talk to me again.
Wow.
So I left the place, but I had the information. And don't forget, what he deleted went to my recycle bin.
So you could access it.
I could access it. Then there was another case, I think it was in Port Harcourt. I was trying to do a story on Isaac Kadaka Borough then. And some young guys came and collected my camera from me. They took my camera, they took all the money with me.
Wow.
And I was still smiling and playing with them. And their leader was like, okay, now what for you? You still a laugh.
Babi.
I said, what did I go do now? Now our story, we try to put our story. You say, make I not put that. I'm not going to fight you now. And I said, okay, because you didn't quarrel with us and you didn't fight with us, take your camera back. Then from the money he took from me, I think about, I don't know, less than 15,000 I had on me. He gave me 2,000 and I said, pay your Okada man and go back.
My goodness.
And that was it.
My goodness. Wow.
I've also had several attacks, attempted attacks in my hotel rooms. Yeah, attempted because I don't sleep deep. So once I notice anything, I raise alarm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you would wonder, why would anybody want to hurt you for doing...
Well, probably they don't even know. They thought maybe there was some fun somewhere. And they want to and most time because I used to travel with my laptops, but now I don't do that again because I faced a couple of risks and I said, no, if I let this laptop go with all the information in it, I don't know how I'm going to survive it.
Sure. All right, you also run a free public library.
Yes.
And it's been on since 2004.
Yeah.
How has it influenced the reading culture in Nigeria, especially in this technology age where a lot of people would rather just go online than take anything hard copy?
When I started the library in 2004, it was because I keep saying it. I had a voice telling me, do this for the younger ones. And that is why till date, last December we clocked 20 years. A lot of people have come and said, why don't you charge money? Why don't you make them to pay? And I said, no, I don't want people to pay. I don't have all the money on earth. And I mean, I'm paying rentage there. I'm buying books. Every single year, once WAEC brings out the new syllabus, I follow the syllabus and I buy books that are recommended and I put in the library. I know quite a lot of parents find it difficult now to survive. I mean, I'm a parent. I know what it is like. And I imagine how many of them might not be able to afford to buy books for their kids. So I make provision of those books and allow these kids to come and read free. And interestingly, not just even the younger ones. Now we have professionals who come in there. Most accountant students come in there. Let me share an experience. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I went to a supermarket to buy some stuff. After picking the things I wanted to pick, I was about to pay, and the cashier was like, somebody have paid for you. I said, somebody. I looked around, I didn't see anybody that I know. I just saw a young guy who was standing with a lady, and the cashier said he's the one. So I walked up to him. He greeted me, and he said, Dr. James. I said, yes. He said, I know you will not remember me. I used your library to do my JAMB. and to do my GCE.
Can
I
you
am now a
get
medical
that?
doctor, and this is my wife.
No way.
Wow! Was I excited? Yes, I was. I felt fulfilled. In fact, at that point in time, there's no amount of money you're going to give me that would have been like what I just witnessed.
Awesome.
You know, I think last year also we produced Kwara State University or so. Yeah, the best graduating student was a member of my library. In fact, he was one of those who used to disturb because he comes in as at about 7:30 in the morning. I will wait for me to open the library. So these are people who have gotten used. At 2019 or so, we produced the youngest ICANN qualifier in Nigeria. That young guy too will come around 7:30, sit outside until I come and open the library. And he will read till 6. I keep telling him, I said, you see what you're doing, you're not wasting your time. And for me, those are the joy.
Wow.
Now, so besides running the library too, we run a museum.
Okay.
Interestingly, I run the private Pioneer History Museum in Nigeria. And when I say history museum, I've been to about 28 other museums across the country. I've seen what they are doing, and I decided to do something different from what they're doing. Okay. So in my museum, for example, if you walk into my museum, you probably might not be seeing a lot of artworks like you see in the national museums and the rest. You'll be seeing something like the old clipper that we used to those days. You're going to see, I think just 2 days ago, I got this, these high heel shoes they wore in the 70s.
The kind of iron television set.
Yeah, the television set with the box, the old rotary phones. The vinyl records, we have about close to 4,000 vinyl records, all Nigerian music. Wow. My museum presently, I can brag about it, and I'm challenging anybody who wants to be challenged. We have the highest collection of Nigerian currency in Nigeria. Yeah, both coins and banknotes dating from 1910 to date. 1910 to date, yes. Our museum also have the largest collection of postage stamps.
How do you source? How do you source for all of these materials? Very quickly.
Well, I buy some of them come in as donations. I have those I call hunters scattered across the country. So they watch out for me. Once they see anything that is historically inclined, they reach out to me. Then if they want to have to pay, I pay for them. They want to have to get as gift, I plead with them to give it to me as gift.
Oh, right. Another arm of the center also caters for the welfare of the women.
Yes.
With over 16,000 women you have trained at that center.
Yeah.
Skill acquisition
center.
And all of it.
Yeah.
How do you measure the impact of this initiative? How are the women doing?
A lot of the women who have passed through us have actually set up their own businesses today. Initially, when I started, my idea was to also partially fund them, but I don't have that kind of money. So what we do now is we just do the free training, and we encourage them to start. If you start and you even want us to come and do checkup, help you to guide you and whatever, we do all that. But a whole lot of them have started their businesses and they're doing well. Beautiful.
You just talked about your museum now, and you're proud to speak about it.
Yeah, very, very
challenge
proud.
Anyone out there. With 48,000 historical photos and artifacts and more.
Yeah.
What are some of the most treasured pieces
that we have
in your collection?
Okay.
There's something.
Yeah, something quite unique.
Yes.
Okay, we have this gun that is 126-year-old. It was used during the British Benin War.
126-year-old
gun. Yeah. A then gun that was used during the British Benin War is in our possession in the museum. Though it's rusty, though part of the wood is eaten up, but there's a history attached to it. We also, another section that I love so much is our collection of glass bottles. We have 422 bottles of brands of beverages that have been taken in Nigeria. Soft drinks and beer from 1950 to date.
True.
Mention it, we have it. From the Dr. Peppers to the Dandy Corona to the Crest, Schweppes, varieties of bottles. For example, we have Coca-Cola, we have 24 different bottles of Coca-Cola.
Jesus.
From 1952. We have just mention the drink, we have it.
I'm asking, as I'm looking at you, like, what is it that gets into your head to begin to say, I must go into these specifics, these details?
Let me say is
preserving history.
Yeah, let me say is also a hobby turned to a profession. Far back, I started collecting coins, stamps, 1974 when I was in primary school.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I get it.
I just got fascinated looking at those tiny things and trying to find out what is the history, what is the story behind them. So maybe that is why my collection is one of the highest today in terms of, because I remember when I started collecting coins, you know what I used to do? I go to ritual spots in the villages. Because those days when they do rituals, they drop coins, the old coins, and drop a bottle of Fanta and some rice and all that. I wasn't interested in the Fanta and the rice, but the coins, I'll go and pick them. And my grandmother would shout, stop picking ritual. He will do you this. It did not do anything.
I mean, you were a child.
Thank God I collected them.
You were a child with a mind that was not intimidated by anything.
Thank God I did collect them, because today it's not so difficult to get those things.
I would wish that we had more time, but time has just zipped past. And finally, let's talk about the impact once again.
Yeah.
The impact and what you're looking forward to doing more, at this center. What area have you not covered?
The impact. A lot of Nigerians have come to appreciate Nigerian history through what we are doing. Last 2 years, we got the partnership program with the Goethe Institute. Goethe had visited, they showed great interest. In fact, before then, Total Nigeria visited, showed interest, but somehow along the line, we couldn't really do the deal with Total Nigeria Limited because we couldn't meet up with certain conditions. We are presently working with the Goethe, and Goethe picked 6 museums across the country, 5 national museums, and we were the only private museum that Goethe selected in that project. And what we're trying to do now is see as much as we can to document other areas of Nigerian history that nobody have talked about. Okay. For me, if you ask me now, if there's any challenge, the only challenge we have now is to get a bigger space so that we can display what we have for people to start appreciating those things. Because where we are now, the place is tiny, so things are actually packed on top of each other, making people not to value what we have in our possession.
Yes, awesome. Okay. Yeah. And I'm not standing in as a pastor right now, but that big space you will get.
Definitely. Amen. I believe that too.
That was simply delightful. I'm sure you're not near done, with giving to society and the world. We must be reminded of who we are, where we are at, why we're here, and where we are from, where we are going, There's a popular saying that if you do not know where you're coming from,
you will never know
where you're going. Will not know where you're going. Definitely. So thank you. Thank you for preserving Nigerians' rich history.
You're most welcome.
We will find time and come to the center and take some pictures.
Awesome.
So that Plus TV Africa will do some collaboration with you so we can help, galvanize and propel this gospel, if I can use the word, so we can get more people on board. All right. Thank you
so very much.
Thank you, my brother, for coming.
You're welcome.
Bless you.
Bless you.
All right. That was a blast from the past. Wow. With that intense conversation with my last guest, Dr. Raphael James, we are at the end of the show today. But we will do this again together next week. And before we do a fresh edition next week, remember that the repeat broadcast of this package will be is usually on Saturday night at 10:30 after the main news, and Sunday morning. And I've just been informed that for maybe sometime moving forward, we will do a repeat broadcast of Today with John and Helen live on Plus TV Africa at 7 o'clock weekdays. So please watch. And remember, YouTube, it's there. The link is there, and you can go back and watch this conversation over and over again. Thank you for being a part of the show. I'm Ongma Helen Odele, and it's really been my pleasure. I'll see you again next week. Bye now.